You ever get told your land, the same land your daddy broke his back for after the war, isn't yours anymore, and the one saying it ain't the bank? It ain't the government. It's some guy in a golf cart wearing a polo shirt tucked into khakis, telling you owe 14 grand to a homeowners association you never joined? Yeah, that happened. Name's June Barlow. I'm 82 years old, and I live alone on the last working ranch in what used to be quiet, sunburnt Pine Hollow, New Mexico. My family's been on this land since 1947. My daddy came home from World War II and bought 40 acres with a handshake and a promise. Built the house with his own hands, planted every tree, raised cattle, goats, and 2 kids, including me. Now they say it's not mine. They say I owe dues, that I'm in violation, that if I don't pay up in 7 days, they'll process the lien and take it all. I remember standing on that porch, same boards my daddy laid down, watching that clipboard guy with slick back hair and a Bluetooth headset ride off in his navy blue HOA golf cart. Dust kicking up behind him like he just delivered the mail from hell. He told me his name was Aaron something. Didn't matter. His words still echo like a gunshot across dry land. You have 7 days, ma'am, or Sweet Acres HOA will assume possession of this property. Thing is, I never joined no Sweet Acres HOA. I never signed nothing. Never got a welcome packet. Never went to no meeting with lemonade and bylaws. But let me tell you something. These folks, they don't wait for you to agree. They draw a map around your land, slap a zip code over your history, and tell you it's law. They're like tumbleweeds with legal degrees. Blow in, take root, and choke out everything that doesn't fit their picture-perfect brochure. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I just stared at that fine notice, red-stamped and smug, and whispered, "You picked the wrong old woman." See, what they didn't know was that down in my root cellar, behind the loose brick in the wall, there's a rusted old safe. My late husband, Roy, showed me the combination the year before he passed. Said, if anyone ever tries to come for this land, you'll find what you need right here. So I opened it. Inside was the original deed to the Barlow Ranch, dated 1947. Handwritten, notarized, and bound by a land covenant that predates Sweet Acres by about 70 years. But better yet, beneath that was something I didn't even know existed, a federal easement contract from 1932, signed under a Dust Bowl Preservation Act. It protects my land from forced incorporation into urban development zones, meaning, not only was their lien illegal, it was criminal. But before I get too far ahead of myself, let me tell y'all how this started. About 6 months back, I noticed a sign at the edge of my gravel drive. Small, white, Real official looking. Welcome to Sweet Acres. Rules enforced by HOA. It was staked right into the red dirt like they planted a flag on Mars. Next day, this guy in a golf cart shows up, introduces himself as Aaron Whitmore, HOA director. Says my fencing doesn't meet HOA height regulations, and I need to replace it or apply for a variance. I told him flat, I don't have an HOA, mister. He smiled like I just told him I'd never seen a microwave. Sweet Acres recently expanded its boundaries, ma'am. You fall within our new jurisdiction. I laughed. I didn't agree to that. He chuckled back. You'll find the details in the packet we mailed last month. That's how they get you. They talk like it's already done, like you missed the vote you weren't invited to. Week later, I get my first violation notice. Then another. Then a fee for unauthorized livestock. Y'all, I've had the same 3 goats and a grumpy horse since the Clinton administration. Next, an invoice. $700 in unpaid dues. Then $2,000. Then $14,000. They said I owed them for road paving. Only road they paved runs through my own ranch. I've been fixing that road with my own shovel since the 80s. I tried calling the sheriff. He said it was a civil matter. I tried calling a lawyer. Said it'd cost me more to fight than to settle. But settling was never in my nature. And that's when things got ugly. One night, my mailbox got knocked clean off the post. Another. I caught a drone flying over my barn, hovering like a metal vulture. One morning, I found some HOA inspector taking pictures through my kitchen window. When I yelled, he said he was documenting compliance. I ain't used to feeling helpless, but I'll admit, I started sleeping with the lights on. Started leaving my shotgun by the door, not that I'd ever want to use it, but just knowing it's there. Then the guy in the suit showed up, clipboard in hand, lien notice in the other. Told me they'd filed a lien against my deed, and if I didn't settle, they'd initiate foreclosure. I slammed the door in his face. Then I went straight down to that root cellar. And that's when I found the contract that changed everything. Federal easement. 1932, under a trust deed that says my property sits on preserved land protected from annexation, eminent domain, and subdivision development. It wasn't just paper. It was armor. But just as I pulled the files from the safe, I heard a noise upstairs. A door creaking. Footsteps. I froze. Then came the sound of a lock being picked. I crept upstairs, skillet in hand, heart pounding. That's when I saw the flashlight beam slide down the hallway, headed straight for my study where I keep my land records. Whoever it was, wasn't just here to scare me. They were looking to erase me. I slipped behind him. The figure was hunched over my file cabinet with a crowbar, flashlight jammed under his arm. And there it was, the back of a blue windbreaker stitched with Sweet Acres HOA. Aaron, I said, cold and clear. You looking for something? He jumped like I'd thrown a brick. Ms. Barlow, I didn't realize you were home. You thought you'd steal from me in the dark. I said, raising the skillet. Problem is, this is my home. You're trespassing. He started stammering. Said something about board pressure and strategic land value. It ain't a chessboard. Son, I snapped. It's my life. He tried pulling his phone. Said I'd threatened him. I said, go ahead. Sheriff's office might like to know their buddy from the HOA's break-in into old women's homes. He backed out fast, tripped over the porch step, and hightailed it into the dust. Next morning, I made 4 copies of every document from that safe. Sent one to my son Travis in Colorado, one to the county recorder's office, one to an old friend named Connie who works for the land assessor, and I kept the original under lock and key. Then came the foreclosure notice. Court date scheduled. 2 weeks. I took my files to the county office, and this young woman behind the desk, Janelle, looked like she'd seen a ghost when I handed her that 1932 easement. This overrides everything, she whispered. Then why hasn't anyone stopped them? Because no one knows it exists anymore, she said. They buried it, and they're betting you don't know it's there. I smiled. Well, they bet wrong. 2 nights later, black SUVs showed up again. No headlights. Just idling. Then the porch creaked. Boots on my front steps. They busted in through the front and started tearing through my house looking for those documents. I slipped out the back, folder in hand, barefoot, heart thumping like a war drum. I knew every inch of that ranch, every tree, every hiding spot. I made it to the hayloft, curled up with my old dog Toby, and watched the flashlight sweep across the barn floor. They didn't find me, but they sure left their mark. Broke windows, ripped my wedding album, sprayed the word sell across my front door. I wasn't scared anymore. I was done. My son drove down that same week. Brought cameras, security lights, backup drives, turned the place into a fortress. But he didn't stop there. Travis used to work in cybersecurity. He dug into their files and found a forged digital deed, a fake notary stamp, and a trail of emails from Aaron himself, trying to sell my ranch to a shell company tied to a highway development project. That's what this was all about. They didn't care about my fence or my goats. My ranch sat right in the path of a future tech corridor, a billion-dollar deal, and I was the last holdout. They wanted me gone, but I don't vanish easy. We brought everything to court. Judge was a sharp woman, late 60s. Knew her land law like she knew her Bible. HOA showed up with a binder of violations. I showed up with truth. Then we played the security footage. Aaron, in my house, digging through my files. The judge turned to him and said, "You bring any rebuttal?" He just sat there, sweating. She ruled in 5 minutes flat. This lien is void. The property is protected. Any further action will be prosecuted. We walked out of that courthouse like we just won a war. People clapped. Strangers hugged me. Travis cried and said, "They tried to erase you, Mom. But now the whole country knows your name. But it ain't over." Next morning, I found a new sign at the edge of my land. Red letters. Spray painted. "You lost." There was a black SUV in the distance, waiting, and I reckon they might try again. But now I've got the law, the people, and a skillet that's seen more battles than most men. Let me ask you this. Have you ever had someone try to take what's yours because they thought you were too old, too quiet, too alone to fight back? Tell me in the comments. Because if I've learned anything, it's this: you don't need a badge to be right, and you don't need a lawyer to say no. Sometimes all you need is a little truth, a little fight, and a whole lot of stubborn. And I've got plenty of that left. So go ahead. Try me again. I dare you. And if this story hit close to home, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs a reminder that no one is ever too small or too old to stand their ground.